And Chief, day 64, we ran all night with no inverter. We've had our toilets tablet, and I think we got through all that. I got the valving right for the toilets, it appears. We ran the fan all night. Now we're going to put the coffee on the inverter. Chief, you can use this switch outlet too. You know, we have two outlets for the inverter. You got that one and that one. But we're going to try and make coffee on our inverter. We've been running the refrigerator all night on the inverter. And then the regular 12 volt is done. It's got lots of house batteries for the inverter. It's just the outlets we had to check. Look at this beautiful sunrise this morning. And today I am going to change the oil in Dreamer and Hope. I can already tell you guys that I didn't burn one drop of oil in either engine. I've already checked that. We don't want to start the generator up right now because I'd like to do the oil change in a noise-free environment, Chief. How does that sound? So what I'm going to do is fire up one of the engines, get the oil warm like we always do while Pete makes coffee. And then we will start this oil change process, which I've got down to doing pretty quickly now. Now I can change the oil in these engines pretty quickly. Look at that sunrise, beautiful. Today's video is dedicated to that guy out there dreaming, anybody out there sitting behind the desk dreaming about doing stuff like this. It really is, you know, I was, how old was I when I started all this? About 55. So it just proves it's never too late. And you can do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? You just got to dream it and then go do it.
Find a way to make it happen.
Yeah, find a way to make it happen. I mean, this isn't, you know, it's like, it's just keep digging and grinding, and all of a sudden one day you wake up and here you are in Newport Harbor, and you're looking out the window of a 65-foot yacht at a sunrise. It's probably one of the most beautiful sunrises you've ever seen in your entire life. And yeah, I got to go change the oil in a yacht today. That's what I got to do. This isn't a regular job. But it's our job. This is what we do, and anybody can do it. And you know, it's life. It's just real life. Man, look at that. Oh my God. Just breathtaking, the views. Got another little secret, Chief.
Talk to me, good.
The sugar gave me a headache. It also really screws with my bursitis in my arm. So I think I've got to come to the realization the sugar is the devil's juice.
Well,
we don't do.
Well, you say that every time.
I know I do, but I just can't do it. It doesn't work for me, if that makes sense. It just doesn't work, Chief. So why I made the request of not firing up the generator down here is because you hear how quiet it is. I can be very, very quiet in the engine room here. Rowers come out every morning. Then they have these little chase boats that chase them. I think it's their coaches that are out here chasing them. I've heard them tell them, hey, not tell them, but instruct them. Chief, welcome to my office. And today is all about, remember I told you a few minutes ago, we were gonna today concentrate on getting the boat done, and today's video is dedicated to everybody, workers, the dreamers, everybody sitting at that office working. And I wanted to bring you into my office because this is my part of the yacht, because I'm basically the captain and the engineer, where Pete, my twin brother,
I'm a little better looking too. And if you guys meet us in person, I want you guys to quickly identify.
I'm pretty sure you guys know the truth.
But well, anyway, what I need, this is my office. This is where I love being in here. We've able to run this we've gotten to know this boat really well now, so we've been running on battery power for most of the over the last 24 hours. We've been running about 20 hours on battery, but I'm keeping the generator off right now because I'm going to service these engines, and I want to do it in peace and quiet. So I'll start with like these ray cores. I'm very curious to see what these ray cores look like.
Yeah, me too.
And I've already checked the oil in both mains. We have not burned one drop of oil, but I will have to fire up each one of these engines, and I will warm the oil up a little bit so that I can extract the oil out of the yacht, and then we put the new oil into the yacht. And that's my big chore today, getting ready for this last push. It's about another 1,000-mile push to finish it, and we're going actually into the Columbia River, which is basically on the Washington-Oregon border there, as where we're delivering the yacht. And I was told like 5 times by 5 different captains, don't go into the Columbia. Don't go into the Columbia. And what's that all about? Anyway, it's just like anything else. So you've got to pick your weather window. You got to go in the correct tides. And it's very, very important because that's one of the most dangerous places in the entire world. And so we're really going to buckle down. We're going to get this yacht ready for the next push. And I think it is going to be one of our most challenging pushes over these next 10 or so days, getting the yacht to its final destination. Anyway, again, welcome to my office. And today I'll just do some random videos of doing the different chores as I get to them. So first thing I'm going to do is, this is the port engine here. We call her Dreamer. And this is for all your dreamers and everything out there. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and hit the start button. I'm going to start this engine. And I want to warm that oil up a little so I can start extracting this oil. He's prepping food, getting ready for this next leg, pulling stuff out of the freezer. And then he's cooking food, prepping food. Today we will run the generator all day once I get done with these engine oil changes. I wanted the peace and quiet in the engine room. So that's his job. He'll start cleaning, doing washing laundry, doing a bunch of different things. You can see right here his freezer. It's just full of meats. And he'll pick out our meats for the next 4 or 5 days. And you'll start cooking these in the sous vide, Chief?
Yep.
And that's what you're doing today, right?
Yep.
And how many days do you prep food for?
I try to do for 7 days, but right now we're doing for about 5 days.
Because our runs are much shorter right now. We don't have the we don't have any more big runs left, even because we only literally have about 1,000 miles to go. So I'm going to pull back on the throttle. And then I'm going to go ahead and kill this engine. And then we will start extracting oil from that engine. Chief's office. This is the galley, the kitchen, whatever you want to call it, Chief. It's been called several things, but people on a boat tend to want to call it the galley. Get a lot of comments about that.
I gotcha.
So this is pretty easy right here. All I do is hit a couple buttons and hook this switch right here, and then I'll start extracting the oil out of this engine. To get started here, I pull my hose out here. You can see, and then that just goes right into that bucket. Then I got to turn that valve on, which is this valve right here. That just goes to the on position. And then I just hit whether I want the oil to come in. That's going in, and this is coming out. And so I hit that. And that is extracting oil from the engine and putting it into this bucket. Each one of these engines will take about 1 bucket and 2/3. They take about 8 gallons of oil, right, a little bit less, to do a complete oil change on each engine. So not quite. Both engines takes about 17 gallons of oil. It's a lot of oil. I took my full bucket of oil, I took it upstairs, and then I brought down a new bucket of oil, and I'll do that throughout these oil changes.
These are the tools that I use right here for my oil filters. So this I stick under the oil filter to get any oil out I can so it doesn't go underneath the engine. And then I'll drain the oil filter into this one, into my old oil bucket. This is where I'll drain my oil filter into that, my old oil bucket. So I'll go ahead and pull this oil filter over here. Right there. This gets a little tricky, but what I do is just loosen the filter, drain the oil into here, and then put the oil from here into my bucket. And then I'll actually set the filter in there and drain what's left over. I get a little bit of oil down there, but not too much. It won't be too bad. So I've just loosened the filter up a little bit, and I'm letting the oil drain into here. And I'll do that a couple times. So I'll let that oil drain into the old oil bucket. And then I'll screw on my new filter. Change my shirt. I don't want to get anything on my white shirt, but I changed my shirt, and now I'm finishing up this oil filter. One thing I'm a strong believer in is you usually take a Sharpie and I put the date and the engine hours on these oil filters. The only reason I'm not doing it now is because I'm literally changing the oil every few days, you know, about every 5 or 6 days. And I've got one more oil change before I turn it over to the owner. We'll 0 time the oil for him. Then I will put the date and the hours so that anybody would know when that oil was changed last. But right now, I'm just doing it so fast and so often that I'm just I'm logging it up in the logbook, the hours. And we change it about every 100 hours or so, a little over 100 hours. And that's because this is a 2-stroke diesel, and you cannot use a synthetic oil in these engines. You have to use an older detergent type oil, and that detergent is what cleans the cylinders and all of the parts internally. So it's important on these Detroits that we change the oil every 100, 120, maybe you can stretch it to 150 hours, but that's about it. Now the way I can tell this is that's coming out of the engine, and that arrow going down, that's going into the engine. So I just hit that. Now it'll take this full pail of oil here, plus most of the next pail of oil. I already know that because I've done this probably, you guys will see me change this oil like 6 times, and I'll have 7 times by the time I get it done. Actually, these filters look very, very good to me. Like, this is the best I've ever pulled them, and this is the best they've ever looked. But I'm gonna still change them to see that. That's a little bit of algae still left in the tank. We did have the tanks cleaned and polished, but we've been bouncing around a lot. So, but I'm really, really impressed by how that filter looks. One thing I've learned about Raycors, you can't really tell what if they're plugged or not. But this one, you can see the dirt about 2/3 of the way up, and it's all clean up there. That's because the fuel keeps climbing and climbing, and then it wants to burn more and more out of there as the fuel rises. But this looks really, really good, in my opinion. Say this is my primary filter. This is the first fuel from the first filter from the tanks as the fuel's being polished and put into the engine. So it'll go through this one, and then it goes through this Raycor right here. Then it goes through another filter before it ever goes into the engine. So by the time it gets through these 2 filters right here, the fuel is pretty well polished. And we haven't had any fuel issues on this entire trip. I just slid in my new filter. I'm gonna hit this valve up, and this is like my priming. And then I just click that, just nice and slow, and I fill that all the way up with fuel. See the fuel coming up. Once that gets full of fuel, then I'll put the lid back on it. And the reason you don't see me changing the gaskets on this is because I've done it like 3 times in the last week. So I just don't change them every single filter. But if I was doing these once a year, I would absolutely change out the 2 little gaskets. A couple things, you're hearing that oil coming out of here. So it's done.
And then look at this. This is my secondary ray core, and a lot more. Like this is like what I attribute this to is like the in the lines from the tank over here to the system. We had most of the lines replaced, but you're not going to get them all. So you have a little bit of this sludge left in the tanks. But actually this filter looks really, really good, and it hasn't been changed. This filter hasn't probably been changed in about 3,000 miles. So I consider this in really good shape, but I am going to go ahead and change it. If I saw any water down in the bottom of my ray course, I would drain that out of there, but I don't have any. A lot of people, you hear all these forums about Mexican fuel and all that stuff, but we pulled into, only fueled up twice, and they were both in reputable fuel spots where the big boys fuel up. And so we didn't have any problem. One was Cabo and one was Chapo, so it's the only two places in Mexico that we got fuel. In Costa Rica, we got it at Papagayo, but again, that's a $1 billion yacht industry over there. That's where the big boys come in. So I feel really good that our fuel situation, we didn't get any bad fuel. And we would know that because we'd have water inside our separators and we would see a problem. So we don't need it though, because like I said, this is our fuel capacity right here. You can see our tankage. We hold over 2,627 gallons of fuel, and you figure we can get a mile to the gallon safely. So, I got probably a safe range of about 2,400 miles on this yacht. It fell down inside the ray core, and I kind of felt that because I looked and checked to see that the gasket wasn't in there. And so then I said, oh, no, I dropped it down there. So I had to reach my finger in there and grab this little gasket right here, and we'll just throw this in the trash. Again, I'm going to move fuel just nice and slowly, fill it up. That should be good right there. And again, we have a self-priming system on the boat, so I can get fuel whenever I need and prime my filters without using a can. On the generator, I have to use a can. Got my lids on. Got my prime pump back into run position, so that's how we run the engine, is with that primer pump. And if I was building a true offshore boat, I would have these on every main engine and every running generator. I would have one of these on it, because it just makes it so much easier. Personally, keep a Sharpie in the engine room, and I keep it right here. And that way I can just grab it anytime I need it. If I gotta write a note or something on an engine real quick, I can. I usually have a roll of tape down here, but you see right here, I marked, now we've sucked all the new oil out of this can. Now it becomes an old can bucket, if that makes sense. So what I can do right now is go ahead and start the starboard engine, start warming that oil up, and then we can start extracting the oil from that engine after we get that warmed up while I'm finishing up the port engine. What he's doing right now, he's making me a box for my ray core, and he's double bagging trash, and then we put one of these absorbers on there, because that's what will absorb any fuel, and then we'll have to turn these in to the proper place as we get to them. But I'll store my old ray cores in there. Chief, we're just talking, and this is kind of graph the scope of this whole trip, basically. I mean, just these oil changes, just the parts. That's nobody doing anything, that's no labor. We're guessing these services would cost around $2,500 for both engines, but us buying the parts and being able to do them ourselves, it's about a little over $1,000 to do that. So just that, you have 7 of these throughout the trip here. So 7 times $2,500, that's a lot of money. It's almost $20,000 just in oil changes. Yeah. So that's the scope of, what we're doing.
Get nervous on the first start every time, but we gotta let some oil run through the filters, and then we'll recheck it, and then we're done with this engine.
One time when I came down here, I was in some pretty rough seas, and I was down here checking things, and I broke the switch. I slammed into it with my arm, and it just broke the switch. So these are just push switches. So this is how I can push this button to start the engine, and I push this button, and it stops the engine. And why that's kind of important to me is because when I'm down here, especially doing oil changes, I'd like to be able to stop my engine without having to run up to the engine room, or I can come over here to the governor, and I gotta manually control the governor. So I was able to change the switch real quick before we start this oil change. This engine right here, the starboard engine, this is what I have my Vectron. This is what I have my house batteries connected to.
And that's the batteries underneath here connected to the Vectron. So just checking the charge on them to make sure everything looks okay. And we are definitely getting our voltage out of here and pulling the batteries up really quickly through the alternator, and that's the way we designed it. So when we run in the starboard engine, it should be charging our 110 houseful batteries. Check out these guys. They learn so young. It's so cool watching them. Steve, you getting a little break while I'm getting all the chores done?
Yep.
Nice. I'm working on, you see that starboard engine, but what's really cool is I just checked the voltage, you know, for the Vectron, for the house batteries, charging them right up really fast. Nice. So that's nice. We're hitting those probably right now with about a full 30 amps. So that's very cool.
Nice.
So it just kind of, we can run without the generator. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
We couldn't have done it though if we hadn't set it all up.
No, we had to set it up in the beginning.
Yeah.
Anyway, give me another, I don't know, probably hour, and then we can.
Okay. I'm taking a little break anyway, so I'm kind of getting tired.
Nice.
I got a bunch to do still, but
nice.
I got plenty of time.
Nice. This little system right here, this is like a little mini generator, and this is what works my my tachometer. So I put the new one in. I had the owner send this to me to a friend here in Newport, and then I'm able to put this in. Now I'm just going to hook the wires up, and then we should have our tachometer working again. That's the hope anyway. I had to do a repair job on this before we left Marathon, and it held up. It did most of the trip, but the last probably about 8 days, I haven't had a tachometer. And I think it has, this thing is what it has. It's always the golden moment for me. I like to see, wow, no algae on this side. So that's really, really good. Filter does look a little dirty.
Yeah, that one looks more
dirty than the other one. And you can see how it's creeping its way up to the top there. But I don't see any out, so that means good. That means it's cleaning out all those lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like
now this one had a good bit of
so that filter, to me, it looked like it was ready to be changed. Or it's getting close. So you see how much, that's about the time we had left. So we get about 1,000 miles, a little less than about 900 miles out of that filter. And that is our first filter. Our secondary filter is this one. We'll check that in just a second. We lost our self-priming pump on this one, and I just double-checked, triple-checked, did the fuses. But that's why we always carry a 5-gallon pail of fuel with us, because if we have to prime a filter and we don't have these pumps, we can do this. So when we get there, that pump will probably have to come off and figure out, because it's internal inside the pump. I've messed with it like 3 times, and I've blown like 3 fuses, and all the wire going up to it is good. There's no shorts in that. So good to have this extra 5-gallon. So this is our secondary rate core. Always curious to see that. I haven't changed this one in over probably 2,000-3,000 miles. This one I change every time we change oil, we change this one. This is my secondary one. It's usually not as, this one looks almost brand new. Probably don't even need to change that, but because I've already got it out all. And that's what we want to see right there. We want to see nice clean filters like that. So it means really the shaking up on all this tank and all this stuff. This side, I would say, is all the hoses are really good in it, really clean. Yeah. And this side, hopefully, we won't see any more of that algae in the lines. So Pete just brought up a point, because technically on this trip, we've gone through a lot of oil, 55, 60 gallons of oil. So how do the big boys do it? And that's what I was explaining to them. They'll have an actual reservoir, and that boat will hold, like, let's say 200 gallons of brand new oil, and it gets pumped into the boat. And then they have an old oil reservoir, which, you know, it could be 200 to 300 gallons. And that's where all the oil it's all piped to where you just hit a button and all that old oil goes right into its reservoir. And then when you get to certain ports, they'll pump that oil out for you. So both engines are serviced. All of the fuel filters have been changed. Now we're gonna go ahead and start the generator up. I'm not changing the oil in this one till tomorrow. We're not leaving here till tomorrow. I've got to see if I can find some more parts. The rest of today, I'm gonna go around
and I'm going to tighten, go through hose clamps, and just check everything else. As far as the engines go, they are 100%. And now we're going to start the generator up and go ahead and run it for the rest of the day to get laundry done, some cooking done, and all of that stuff. And then I'll change the oil in this tomorrow afternoon. Chief, I'm going to tell you both something right now, Mark and Chief. I got Mark on the phone. I just talked to George, the owner of the yacht.
He's kicking us off.
No, he just told me, he goes, the little stretch you're getting ready to go into, it's called the graveyard of the Pacific.
Well, we all know that because everybody's saying the same fucking thing.
So, I'm just letting you know, the Columbia River, we don't have to go up that. We just got to make it 50 miles past it. So, just a little heads up there. What's a little something to look forward to.
Do you want some hot sauce?
Chief, you know the stress. I'm already shitting blood. I mean, I don't know what.
The good news is you haven't stopped shitting blood.
No, I got to get all that, and I need your I need the boat credit card, and let me go grab all that stuff.
Okay.
It's gonna be awesome because I'm gonna go with Dan over to Huntington, so we're gonna go to another harbor. We'll park this boat, and then we lowered the dinghy, which then we just met another guy that would have taken me around, but we lowered the dinghy so that we can go back to the marina. Pete can come get me. I've never been in anything like this before, ever. Right now we're in a little boat heading over to Huntington. Oh my God. How beautiful. How do you explain something like this to somebody? You can't. It's that was just, Dan, that was unbelievable. No, it doesn't. That's what, even when I was driving my the work boats, this doesn't happen. I've never had that many dolphins, but it doesn't happen every day. Look at that. Just hundreds of them. We had to pull a dinghy down today. I got my blower fans. I freaking love it. I got both of them. Went to a complete surprise spot. I got plenty of ray cores left. And then we got the caulking for the lights that we need to seal up front there. We got some regular caulking. So it was a good stop. All right, Chief. Good to be back on the boat. Those dolphins were very cool.
Yeah.
And getting that experience. But, and we got a lot of good stuff done on that little run. But Pete was joking with me about being out here. So the difference is, like, it's Dan parks his boat here. Dan lives right here. He literally lives in one of these houses back here off the water. But
and he has a slip. He used to have a slip here, but the slip here is $2,000. Huntington Beach, which is about 12 miles down the coast there, is $500. So he parks his boat there. That's where he, and then he has a day slip that he can use over here, but he got kicked out of it yesterday or today. So that's why we had to move the boat over to Huntington, and then we went over to the parts store, picked up parts for the boat, and I was tagged along with him. So, but Pete's saying he could live here because this is a whole different world, and it's just a whole different class of boating. And there's just sailboat races, and they're oaring, and there's just everything going on right now. Just a second ago, we were just inundated in these sailboat races. What, they must be done racing?
I don't know. If they are, they just quit it. They're moving all over me like flies.
Flies. How you guys doing? Anyway, so this is a whole different lifestyle over here because it's like its own little bubble, basically. Oh, there they are. There's the sailboats. They're just at a different point of racing right now. These guys are all over us tonight. Anyway, tomorrow we got some chores to do. We're gonna try and get out of here tomorrow. New crew gonna help us for a few days. Steve with the $1 million Bayliner, he's flying in. He's gonna get us over to basically over to where we're gonna stage to go do the big run. So he's gonna get off in Ventura, looks like right now. But he comes tomorrow, and then we're gonna try and leave tomorrow afternoon. Maybe head over to Catalina, spend one day over there. I haven't been over there in years and years and years. And what's kind of cool about this, we're really getting to test out the battery system on the boat.
It's working amazing.
Yeah, which is working really, really well. The toilet systems, we're getting to learn the toilet system because they do tab our tanks. So we've got to switch the valving to make sure that that's going into the tank, and then we can pump the tanks after we're 3 miles offshore, basically. Anyway, just a long day today. I'm exhausted, actually, Chief. So I'm gonna call this a day. Green wholesale place was able to get the rest of the ray cores that I wanted, and I got the caulking. Look at the caulking. We got the correct caulking for those lights, and then those are the exact matches to the fans. And I'm glad I checked because he had a different fan, and it's just one number off, and it's a difference of this flange right here. So but that is the exact flange, so it should be able to switch those in a couple hours in the morning. And I really like them because it really does clean that air up inside that engine room, just having that. So I'm glad we have them back. And he didn't charge me, and paid the same price that I paid for him in Marathon. So that's like $250 a piece, which I told George. And then what we can do is when we get back to George, he can find continuous motors for the other ones, and then we have backup ones, if that makes sense. I really like them. I think that they're very important to have. Anyway, guys, a lot of stuff happened today. Peace out. Make sure you live life with no regret. Thank you so much for watching. We met Butch today. He came over here on his boat. I'm going to call him. He might come over for a visit with his wife. Dan Salzar, thank you so much. All the support on YouTube, everybody. It's overwhelming, and we thank you guys so much.